live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. Coming up this evening, National Service Authority Board takes bold steps to end ghost names. We have details for you in a jiffy. Also, President John Mahama to engage journalists in his first media encounter since assuming office later this evening. And we will gauge expectations from some Ghanaians ahead of the encounter. And later, following the Center for Democratic Development petition to IOCO to probe the NPP top brass in the presidential race, we ask what has triggered this call to investigate the source of campaign funding for NPP flag-bearer aspirants. We will delve into all these matters and more and bring you business and sports as well for the next 1 hour. Do stay with us. Before that, let's bring you the news summaries.
Thank you very much, Martin. The New Patriotic Party, NPP, presidential aspirant for election 2028, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has accused the governing National Democratic Congress of using state power to harass and intimidate members of the opposition party. Speaking at a party gathering in the Ashanti region, the former vice president lamented what he described as a growing trend of politically motivated arrest targeting NPP officials and supporters since the party lost power. Firefighters continue their efforts to extinguish a severe blaze that swept through a Latibia-Koshi warehouse yesterday. The inferno began around 2 p.m. on Tuesday when flames erupted from a Chinese-owned warehouse and spread rapidly. Reports indicate the fire ultimately destroyed over 5 houses. A 26-year-old fashion designer, Mabel Asantua, has been killed after allegedly being stabbed multiple times by her boyfriend during a visit. The suspect, identified as 28-year-old carpenter Bras Sami, reportedly spent the night with the deceased before attacking her in her room. He was later arrested by the Weja Divisional Police Command. The incident occurred at Kalabule Chinese near the Kaswa toll booth in the Gassouth municipality of the Greater Accra region. Finally, the National Identification Authority, NIA, has announced that it has started registering Ghanaian children that between the ages of 6 and 14 years at all its premium centers across the country. In a statement released on Wednesday, September 10, by the head of corporate affairs, Williams Ampoma Dallas, the authority said the move is in line with its legal duty to register all Ghanaians both at home and abroad to ensure that every citizen has a secure and verifiable national identity.
All right, thank you for those news summaries. Let's delve into the stories we have for you this evening. And remember that we are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so you should be a part of the show. These are national issues we are discussing, so your thoughts are always welcome. Just look for 3FM 927 on Facebook and also on YouTube, and you can be part of the national conversation here. We start with issues regarding the National Service, and the board of the National Service Authority has taken a strong step to eliminate ghost names and other fraudulent issues by establishing a transition and implementation steering committee to oversee the development of a new metric app for national service deployment. The creation of the TISC follows the expiration of the current digital platform in August 2025, which has been widely criticized for its weak verification and monitoring processes. A recent audit confirmed these issues, calling the system unsatisfactory and vulnerable to abuse. The audit revealed that approximately 15,178 Ghana cedis was paid to service personnel aged under 1 year old across 26 transactions. Additionally, about 889,997.77 Ghana cedis was paid to personnel aged under 10 years across 1,570 transactions. These and other findings indicate that the system is unfit and highly vulnerable to fraudulent schemes. You would recall that in June this year, the Office of the President directed the Minister for Youth Development and Empowerment and the management of the authority to suspend the old system and oversee the rollout of a new, robust and comprehensive one. In June this year, the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, Dr. Dominic Ayine, exposed what he described as a criminal enterprise within the National Service Scheme and cost the country about 548 million Ghana cedis through the use of ghost names and systemic payroll fraud. Let's listen to what exactly the Attorney General told the country in that presser that has to do with their findings in investigations regarding the National Service Authority.
Describing today. Now, the question whether the IT, the developer will be prosecuted is for me it's not a question that we should be asking. The reason is simply because it's a contractual, issue. Okay, so they have developed a system. If there are vulnerabilities in the system or it is deficient and is not fit for purpose, that's a contractual issue, and we can take that up and then sue them because the system was not fit for purpose. Now, if in the course of that we discover, for instance, that they deliberately set it up to be manipulated in this manner, then we can say that they are accomplices. Okay, but in the current circumstances, the IT management personnel who were the ones who manipulated the system for purposes of fostering the criminal enterprise are the ones that we are concentrating on now. Then the timeline for prosecution. Well, I have my prosecutorial plan laid out, okay, and I'm keenly aware of what defense lawyers can do. Okay, I was for many years a defense lawyer myself, so I know their tricks. All right, if you remember the famous Tagore case, I was the one who freed Tagore together with Kisi Ajabing from prison. So I know what to look for, what defense lawyers look for in any prosecution. If you picked up, thank you for the intelligence that you have picked up, that they say that they and their lawyers will frustrate me. I have plans in place to avoid frustration. Okay? I know what I am doing. And together with my able deputy, we will make sure that the people of this country, because if they frustrate me, they are frustrating the people of this country. And as one of the questioners, said, 548 million is a lot of money. In fact, the president is thinking of a Accra-Kumasi expressway that will make it possible for commuters to travel within an hour to Kumasi. That 548 million, in my estimation, could have built that expressway. So yes, it is a lot of money, and that is why we are going to take the prosecution really very seriously. Look, if you have had 8 million Ghana cedis lodged into your account from public funds, and you say you frustrate the prosecutor, how are you going to do that? Supposing he didn't know, that's a different matter altogether. Or if you have your companies and public monies are flowing through your companies and you cannot tell the prosecutor why those monies were being transferred to your company and they were being used for private purposes, and you say you will frustrate the prosecutor, well, this will come with all the technicalities in the world. We are waiting for them.
So that is Dr. Dominic Ayine, who is Ghana's Attorney General. Let's go to the phone lines now and engage Donko Fuseni, who is the Deputy Director General in charge of Finance and Administration at the National Service Secretariat. A very good evening to you, and thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you so much, Martin Asiedu-Dartey, for having me.
Great. So many are quite interested in the fact that the scheme or the authority has decided to introduce a new deployment system. What would have prompted it? Is it the ghost name scandal?
Okay, thank you very much for having me, and good evening to your cherished listeners. First of all, His Excellency the President's biggest promise to Ghanaians is to reset the country. which also includes resetting all agencies from the bad ways Ghanaians complain about or know about. Yes, this particular system, as we use it now, as it's existing, was the same system that was used to perpetrate the ghost names on Ghanaians. And as you were saying, I heard you read, even children under 1 year were on the payroll of the National Service Authority. People as old as 80 years, some as old as over 60 years, were all being paid under the National Service Scheme. And let's not get it wrong. These were not people being paid in person, but somebody in the quest to pile up names and data into the system just to generate payments so that they can take the money, ended up putting in wrong figures or wrong data that actually they didn't pay attention to. So they existed in forms, but they didn't actually exist in persons. So somebody was just taking those monies in place of all the data they put there. And that is how come. So it was human beings that compromised the system. And it's only fair that a system that was used to perpetrate that particular fraud, if you continue using the system, you don't know the temptation that it might afford another person. So the board and the minister thought, listen, let's put this aside. If we say we are resetting, let's completely reset the whole system. Get a new one that nobody has total control over how to manipulate it or how to override some of the security checks, so that at least we can completely weed out the ghost names. Since we came into office up till now, yes, we've been able to cut down a lot from 220. I think our current national service in total deployment will be around 130,000. From 220, that is what we are, 20,000, that is what we are doing now. So a lot has been achieved, but we believe that we must do better to let Ghanaians have value for money.
So to be sure about the numbers,
that was made.
To be sure about the numbers you have just mentioned, you say currently the total deployment is about 130,000, and this is
yes. At the time the audit started, that is the number that was on roll before the system was suspended.
Okay.
Including the teachers and the nurses that were already deployed.
Okay. And prior to
if
that,
you add them to the university graduates and the other colleges, we all go to around 130,000
wow.
graduates.
And prior to that, we're doing 220,000.
220,000. It came to 181,000. It came to times 160,000. I think the lowest we've ever done previously in the previous government was around 171,000.
Wow. And now we are looking at just about 130,000 legitimate people who are gone through the system that we know and can pinpoint.
And now I can also tell you on authority that it is the schools that upload the class list. It is no longer national service.
The schools that these service persons have completed.
Yes, the schools are giving access to the system. They upload the master list themselves. And then it comes to us, we verify and we confirm.
Right.
The 4 pins are generated for them.
Right. So if we've been able to find, from what you're saying, we've been able to more or less find a solution to it where we can now, or we have reduced to the barest minimum the ghost names or unknown names in there, why would we still need a transition and implementation steering committee to oversee the development of a new metric app for the service?
Yeah, so as I explained earlier on, it is not just about the metric app. The metric app is just one component of the system that is used for the deployment, verification and deployment. That is what we call the metric app. The CSMP, that is the system itself, is what the whole thing that is being actually taken over now that we, listen, let's put this aside so that nobody is tempted, because this one, there are ways that this particular manual override manual uploads, bypassing the systems were done before the ghost names were created. Right. So if you leave it as it is, you don't know when somebody can also be tempted to do the same thing, because now the flaws are known. How to get it done is known. So why don't we get something that nobody knows how to easily beat, so that we all start afresh?
Absolutely. And how much would you say we've been able to save as a nation following this audit that has taken place, and now that we have been able to whittle it down to the specific number of about 130, how much have we saved in the last few months?
I think between February to June 2025, we made a savings of about 100 million Ghana cedis.
Wow, that's quite substantial.
Yes.
Okay.
Just on the fact that we were able to cut down on the numbers.
Okay. And so how soon should we see this system roll out, and what should we be expecting from it? Is it still a lot more verification to be sure that even the schools that may now have access to upload the list of their students, they wouldn't sneak in one or two ghosts?
A lot of things may change, but then significant changes will not happen just to alter the deployment schedules, because we are still within time. We are doing everything possible that by close of October we should have posted all national service personnel. Luckily, all the pins have been generated already, and it takes just a day to generate, or even within 6 hours, we should be able to generate all the 130,000 pins for all our potential service personnel. And once we open the system, we will open it up in such a way that even 200,000 people can go into the system at a go, and all can register at a go without the system crash or breaking down.
Oh, okay.
So by October, we should finish with all deployment programs, and then by 1st of November, everybody should be at their service centers working.
Wow. Okay. We certainly will keep very close eyes on this particular development, because, of course, it is national service and there is a lot of national interest in it. So,
and additional information that I will plead with you to give is that this also includes the military training program that His Excellency promised the national service personnel as well. That is also concurrently being done. So as soon as the system is open, that process will also go through seamlessly. Right.
Okay. Dongo Fuseni, there's a lot to still talk about, so let's leave it here for now. We'll be engaging some more in the coming days.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. And we've been speaking to the Deputy Director General in charge of Finance and Administration of the National Service Scheme. And very interesting revelations he has given us this evening, having to do with the fact that at least between just February and June, they've been able to save about 100 million Ghana cedis from the ghost names or the new system that they have rolled out. And yet again, we are all keeping fingers crossed to see what exactly will be captured in the TISC, which is the Transition and Implementation Steering Committee that has been set up to develop a new app which will make it more stringent to ensure that we do not have some individuals fleecing or circumventing the system to their personal benefit. And it is of interest that everybody who has gone through the national service, like myself, has had some benefit, the knowledge, the experience you get in serving your nation, and the fact that people want to use the system to enrich themselves is actually to the detriment of the country. So we all need to put our shoulders to the wheel to suspend or stop all of this. So in the coming days, and like he has indicated, by November, all of you who should be doing your national service should be at your posting. So do keep very close ears to 3FM 92.7 and also TV3 and all our social media platforms. We will be updating you on any information we do get from the National Service Authority. This is still 3FM 92.7. We are listening to Hot Edition, and we are moving on to some other stories we have for you this evening.
Dean of the Faculty of Journalism and Media Studies at the University of Media, Arts and Communication, UNIMAC, Professor Eche Sekanku, has described the president's media encounter as a bold step to boost Ghana's democracy. President John Dramani Mahama will later today hold his first presidential media encounter since taking office in January. A statement issued on Monday, September 8, 2025, and signed by the spokesperson to the president and Minister of Government Communications, Mr. Felix Kwachufusu, said the encounter will provide a platform for the president to engage the public through the media on national issues, his resetting Ghana agenda, as well as ongoing policies and projects. Speaking to 3FM News, Professor Sekanku charged the media to use the platform to ask timely, impactful questions from the presidency.
Press conferences and media encounters are extremely important because they fulfill a fundamental tenet or some fundamental tenets of democracy, which is that the president must regularly remain accountable to the people that he governs. And so it's extremely important that he holds these media encounters to explain himself to the public, but more importantly, to also get questions from the public. So this is very different from any other speech act or act of political communication, because with the press conferences, he gets the opportunity to be asked questions. The president is questioned by the media, and he remains accountable to the people. And you can't have a democracy without a press corps or without a media who would question the president on his actions to explain his policies. And you cannot have a democracy without the president being available to explain himself. And so this is why this is extremely important to the functioning of our democracy. The ground rules and then revelations that take place. So I believe what you are speaking to is the format and the ground rules. I think that if we want this to be an authentic exercise, if we want this to be an exercise that benefits the people of this country, then the press must fulfill its vital responsibility of holding the president accountable, holding his feet to the fire, and also acting or being the voice of the people. There are a lot of Ghanaians who will not get the opportunity to be there. It is the expectation of many, many Ghanaians that the press would ask, or the media will ask very tough questions, well-researched questions, clear, relevant, timely, and impactful questions on behalf of the people of Ghana. And it is only in this way that we can continue to have a workable and functional democracy that benefits the people.
And that is Professor Eche Sekanku, who is with the UNIMAC University here in Accra, the University of Media, Arts and Communications. And he simply is elaborating on the need for journalists to be circumspect and conscious of the current developments in the country and ensure that those questions or those issues are raised when they have the encounter with the president, which is going to be happening later this evening. Komla Kluche is our presidential correspondent. He's joined us for a quick check-in or mic check, more or less, of what exactly the preparation is looking like ahead of this evening's encounter. Komla, good evening. Thank you for joining us. What's happening at the presidency in terms of preparation?
Well, the banquet hall is ready to host the president and journalists from various media houses who have been invited to partake in this media encounter. It would be one of the several encounters the president has had, one from between 2012 and 2016. He's held a series of them, but the very last one in 2016 he held before he exited office was the one to mark his 3rd-year anniversary while in office for the very first term. But even whilst in opposition campaigning, he's had several engagements with the media. Recently, I mean, as early as somewhere November or so, thereabout, last year, the president had an encounter with journalists where he had given the assurance that he would operate an open door policy where he expects to be accountable to members of the public he's made the point far-reaching enough to the extent that he's commissioned members of his administration, the ministers, to subject themselves to what has been described as the governance accountability series. And so this is part of one of those moments the president intends to be accountable to the media, where he'll be scrutinized on most of the things he's been able to do so far, vis-a-vis the things he said on the campaign platform, putting it aside, and then also looking at probably what the challenges have become ever since he assumed office in January.
Right, and Komla, I'm sure that the expectations for many would be that the president, in his spectacular fashion, would answer as many questions as possible. What can you tell us are the preparations on his side? Is it that the communication team at the Flagstaff House are already taking him through plausible questions that will be coming his way?
Yeah, we get the indication that it will be open. So as much questions that could be asked, the president will respond to them. As to the number of questions that he may be taking, it has not been communicated to us as of yet, but it is worthy of note that the handlers say they are opening it to the media, and as much questions that could be asked would be asked. But of course, the president doesn't have the whole evening to himself, and so, well, really at the point in time, they may be cutting it off.
Certainly. I was asking whether maybe by now he's more or less rehearsing, where they are doing like, how about this issue, Galamsey, etc. Is it like trying to take a number of questions from his handlers so he can prep himself, ahead of this evening?
Well, absolutely. As I speak with you, he is in his office. He's been here since morning. And at the Jubilee House, he's in the office on the 4th floor, where he's having this preparation for the media encounter. And so I'm sure personally he expects to have a wide range of questions that will be thrown at him, and as candid as he may be to respond to all of them, that would be the expectation of the media.
Absolutely. Komla Kluche, thank you very much for this update from the Office of the President. He is our presidential correspondent, and just giving us a bird's eye view of what to expect later this evening when the president will be meeting with a cross-section of Ghanaian media personnel who will be fielding different questions from across a number of issues that have been topical since he became president. And you can bet your last bottom dollar that issues of Galamsey, issues of oral, issues about security, borders, etc. would all be coming up for the president to answer. So it will be live on 3FM 92.7 and then also on TV3 at 8 p.m. when we start our coverage of the presidential encounter. You're still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition live from our studio here at Adisawe Kanda in Accra. Let's go on to some other stories now.
The Ghana Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana, an independent not-for-profit civil society group, has urged the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, to investigate the flag-bearer aspirants in the opposition New Patriotic Party, NPP, regarding the source of their campaign funding. The leadership of the NPP has imposed a 4 million Ghana cedis development levy on each of the presidential hopefuls, in addition to 600,000 Ghana cedis in filing fees that they are required to pay. Now, earlier this week, the Center for Democratic Development, that CDD Ghana, urged EOCO to probe NPP's presidential aspirants, including Kennedy Ejapong, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, and Dr. Yao Osei-Edutrum. Kennedy Ejapong, a key contender in the NPP's forthcoming presidential primary and a former member of parliament for Asin Central, described the development levy as disgraceful. CDD Ghana raised concerns over the increasing monetization of democracy in the country. The civil society group consequently urged EOCO to probe each of the flag-bearer aspirants on their sources of funding. The NPP flag-bearer race is scheduled for Saturday, January 31, 2026. Out of the many who initially expressed interest, only 5 have successfully filed their nominations. Martin.
Right, so let's go to Zoom now and engage Dr. John Osei-Kwapong, who is a senior research fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening to you as well. My pleasure.
What has triggered this interest from CDD asking EOCO to look into the source of funding, campaign funding of these aspirants of the New Patriotic Party?
Thank you very much. Well, the work of CDD Ghana around and its interest in campaign finance reforms, how we finance campaigns, political parties, does go way back, almost about a decade now. They've done studies on, how much it cost to run for president, to run for a member of parliament. They've also bemoaned regularly the cost of our politics and the role that money plays. And one of the things that the center has been interested in seeing how best we can begin to reform our campaign finance system and begin to tighten the rules around who gives what, how much, when, to who, but also to shine a lot more transparency. The Constitution as well as the Political Parties Act does have some reporting requirements and obligations placed on political parties in terms of reporting their finances, annual reports, etc., etc. Compliance is still very low on that issue. But more importantly, campaign finance legal framework and architecture seem to be very silent though on what to do about candidates and their specific campaign. So that forms the context and the continuation of the work that the center has been very interested in around the role of money in our democratic politics.
And there are those who are saying that the news making round that some 4 million Ghana cedi development levy was also slapped on persons who have interest in leading the party is what must have, or is one of the reasons that CDD, for instance, has got its attention piqued. Is it one of it, or probably is just people speculating?
Probably, but again, even if you look at the public conversations around when the party announced the filing fees and additional fees that there will be prospective candidates would have to cough up. Again, it raises the issue of the kinds of barriers we are putting up, the entry barriers we are putting up for participation in internal party politics. I know some have argued that if you are a presidential candidate and you cannot raise that kind of money to be able to, because they use these monies to also run the affairs of the party, then you have no business seeking the candidacy of the party. But on the flip side, you also do not want to create the kind of politics that seems to be sending the message that democracy is for the highest bidder, right? That what if there is a really good prospective candidate who cannot come up with 4 million plus to be able to contest, and therefore that sort of rules them out from such a race. So again, we are not, I always say that those who push for campaign finance reforms are not naive about the fact that campaigns do cost money, running political parties do cost money, and therefore financial resources would always be needed to finance the activities of campaigns as well as political parties. The challenge is the sources of those finances, how transparent are we about where those monies are coming from, and how high are we setting the barrier in terms of the money needed to participate? Because you don't want, at some point, money to be the key determining factor of who can participate in our democratic politics or not.
Certainly so. And are you concerned that, over the last few political cycles, we seem to have increased the tempo of monetizing our politics, and if this issue we keep talking about persists, is there a way out from the strategies level or from the civil society level about how our politics seem to have been excessively monetized?
You're right. Even when you look at the primaries of our political parties, we always see in the news this language about, oh, it's the cocoa season for party delegates, etc. During elections, there are always alleged stories of this party was handing out money to prospective voters, things like that. So it has a corrosive effect on our democratic politics. For me, one of the key solutions is to go back and look at the legal framework that addresses campaign finance, and to close all the existing loopholes wherever we find them. But more importantly, enforcement is key. So you can put together a beautiful legal framework and architecture around the role of money in politics. But if you don't monitor and if you don't enforce, and in the enforcement, if you find out that there are people who have been violating laws around campaign finance and you don't punish that behavior, then it is going to persist. And I don't know how many more election cycles we want to wait for before we begin to say, all right, we can't proceed further like this. Because again, even just the cost of running for office is becoming very prohibitive. And I don't think that's the kind of democracy we want to have, where the message is the office goes to the highest bidder, that whoever is able to win election is not necessarily based on the merit of the ideas or solutions that they propose to address Ghana's socioeconomic challenges, but rather it is he or she who has enough money is the one who can win an election. And I don't think that's what we want to turn our democracy into.
And Doc, finally, before you take leave of us, I'm sure this conversation has come up a number of times, which is the state funding of political parties. What is CDD's position on this, that if the state has a specific amount of money from which, or a coffers from which political parties are funded, then they can better monitor how those monies are expended? Is there a position, or what's CDD's position on it, and how feasible is this proposal that a number of people have made over time?
So there's not, to my knowledge, there's not an official CDD Ghana position on this matter. But my personal opinion is that I would support some kind of state financing of political parties. The only challenge is that the Ghanaian public has lost its appetite for that solution. So I did a paper once where years ago, CDD Ghana did a study, and one of the questions that was asked was, are you willing to, or would you agree to some kind of state financing of political parties? And back then, this was about maybe 15 years ago, a little over 51% of Ghanaians said, yes, they would support some kind of financing of political parties. But fast forward to Afrobarometer round 9 in 2019, when that question was asked, no more than 22% of Ghanaians will support any kind of public financing of political parties. So the public's mood has changed and the public's appetite has changed for that. And for me, to be able to move forward with any kind of state financing of political parties, you would have to do it in an environment where there's strong public support for it. So at this point, whilst I personally, it is a solution that I will be willing to support as a country to explore, the general sentiment of the Ghanaians based on these surveys that I've mentioned is that political parties must find their own ways of funding their activities.
Doc, very good. Thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening.
My pleasure.
We've been speaking to Dr. John Osai Kwapong, who is a senior research fellow at the Center for Democratic Development, CDD Ghana. What do you make of this debate about funding and how political parties in the country have, over the years, seemed to be very financially active, and that in itself has become a financial football for many party supporters. Like they describe it as the cocoa season when it has to do with the primaries of the party or a flag bearer race. Money seems to have dominated the conversations about our politics. What do you make of it as a Ghanaian who is interested in politics? Whether you like it or not, whether you vote or not, people in politics become leaders and they take decisions on your behalf. So your point or your view is very much needed. Do share them with us on our Facebook page and then also on our YouTube channel where we are streaming. Just look for 3FM 92.7 and let your thoughts be heard. This is Hot Edition. Stay with us. When we return, we'll be taking you to the court where the former Director General of the Signals Bureau, Martin Asiedu-Dartey, has had one of his issues thrown out, or the court has taken or set a specific date on which they will be ruling on it. Stay with us. We have details of that for you in a minute.
Ghana. It's a new year and Bills Microcredit is here to support your dreams. If you're not working but want to start a business, don't let money stop you. With just your Ghana card, you can get a loan to turn your ideas into reality. Already running a business? Need more capital? Or are you a salary worker looking for extra funds? Bills offers fast and easy loans with no collateral, no deposit, and no SUSI savings required. Wherever you are, whatever you need, Bills makes it happen. Call Bills Microcredit today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390 and get started. Bills is licensed and regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Bills, financing your needs. Terms and conditions apply.
Thank you for staying with 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition live from our studio here at Adesawe Kanda in Accra. Let's go to court now.
An Accra High Court has set October 17 to rule on an application to hold the criminal trial of former Signals Bureau Director Martin Asiedu-Dartey and 3 others. Lawyers for the embattled ex-Signals Bureau Director, led by Samuel Atechia, moved the application to stay proceedings pending the determination of appeal of the High Court's decision. Lord Edwasari reports.
The court presided over by Justice Eugene Nyunyante earlier dismissed an application by Asiedu-Dartey's lawyers for further disclosures of documents citing irrelevance and non-possession of the requested documents by the prosecution. Samuel Atechia then proceeded to appeal the High Court's decision, alleging that the trial judge blocked access to relevant documents which would be key to the evidence. Hearing on Wednesday, September 10, Samuel Atechia argued that failure of the prosecution to provide disclosures was damaging his clients and by extension their case. But Deputy Attorney General Dr. Justice Remsai, leading the prosecution, opposed the motion to hold the trial, arguing that the accused lawyer had presented no exceptional circumstances for the case to be suspended pending the decision on the appeal. He urged the court to dismiss the application and pleaded for the case to be expedited, adding that it be heard on a daily basis. But the presiding judge averred that there were several cases already on the course list at the vacation court, so would resort to thrice a week. The Deputy Attorney General further called out the lawyers of the former Signals Bureau Director over what he described as pushing narratives in the media to put pressure on the case. Samuel Atechia also criticized the AG for failing to provide documents which would help exonerate his clients as part of disclosures. Reacting to the development, Justice Nyunyante asserted that no one can pressure him and force him to carry out any actions regarding the case, noting that the law would take its course. The presiding judge then adjourned proceedings to October 17 to rule on the application to stay proceedings and decide on the next course of action on the case. Lord Edwasari.
Well, that was a report by my colleague, Lord Edwasari. Let's take you to something that happened in the hours of 2 to 5 p.m. yesterday, because more than 12 hours after a massive fire engulfed a warehouse situated in a residential area at Latibio Koshi in Accra, personnel from the Ghana National Fire Service was still battling persistent pockets of fire as of 10 a.m. on Wednesday. Now, fire tenders remained at the scene working to fully douse the flames that broke out on the evening of Tuesday, September 9. The affected building, which had been repurposed into a warehouse, is located in a densely populated residential zone, a growing trend that has alarmed local authorities and residents alike. Authorities raised red flags over illegal warehouse conversions. The Greater Accra Regional Fire Commander expressed deep concern over the increasing use of residential properties for commercial warehousing.
Right, so we go on to some other stories on 3FM 92.7. We are also live around the world on 3news.com. Now, many of the stories we have for you this evening have also been put on our website, where you can get details of the specific stories and you can get further perspectives that have been shared regarding those stories. However, you can also see the videos and pictures of the many stories we've already shared with you when you visit our Facebook page, because we share the videos as well as the pictures of the many issues, and the individuals we've been talking to are also there. So do stay with us or visit those pages and let your voice be heard as well. On to some other stories now. You'll recall that there's been a banter between the National Communications Authority, the Ministry of Communication, and DSTV. We are going on to that story to let you know what the latest issue is regarding this banter.
Yes, Martin. Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa, Benjamin Kwashi, has denied claims that the Minister for Foreign Affairs in South Africa is coming to Ghana to help solve the issues around DSTV subscription fees. His comments follow unconfirmed claims in the media that South Africa has activated diplomatic efforts to resolve the standoff between Ghana's Ministry of Communication, Digital Technology and Innovations and MultiChoice Ghana, operators of DSTV. Now, speaking to TV3, Benjamin Kwashi has dispelled rumors of reprisal attacks on Ghanaian businesses in South Africa.
I can confidently say to you that it's not true. The media reports that have indicated that the Foreign Affairs Minister from South Africa is coming to Ghana because of the MultiChoice brouhaha. It's not true. There is no Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs from South Africa in Ghana as we speak to lead any negotiations. No. The Honorable Lanola, who is the Foreign Affairs Minister from South Africa, wanted to have a bilateral meeting with his counterpart, the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. He had to discuss other issues. Of course, the issue of MultiChoice would definitely have come up, but the meeting was not able to materialize because the Honorable Foreign Affairs Minister had to travel to Ethiopia with the Vice President. So that meeting couldn't come on, and we're trying to set another date for that meeting. But let me reiterate that there's no minister, any minister or any government official from South Africa who is in Ghana to come and mediate or be part of the negotiations with MultiChoice and the Ministry of Communication.
You just heard the Ghana's High Commissioner to South Africa, Benjamin Kwashi. He was denying claims that the Minister for Foreign Affairs in South Africa is coming to Ghana to help solve the issues surrounding the DSTV subscription fees. Let's go to some health stories. Stigma and lack of improved awareness remain the two major challenges affecting efforts by the Ghana Health Service in the management of the Mpox disease outbreak in the country. In just a few weeks, the country is expecting the arrival of some 33,600 vaccines, which the service is anticipating to help break the source of transmission of the virus. Currently, Ghana has confirmed 494 cases from all 16 regions, and the disease hotspots remains the Western North, and Greater Accra regions. The Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Martin Asiedu-Dartey, who spoke exclusively to 3FM, noted that the service is hopeful of a decline in cases soon.
We are trying to expand or improve on our awareness ratio. We realize that we've gotten some challenges in terms of concentrating or heightening our awareness. But I need to state that there are parts of Ghana that we have very high awareness than maybe in Accra. That we go to maybe Western region, parts of Takwa and Siarim, Wasam and those places, realize that we are really much more driven to the communities. Accra, we are not hearing much of it. So one of the things that we also intend doing is to, as I said, heighten awareness. And then in the next few, I'll say maybe weeks, we will get some vaccines. It's not a lot, but what is going to help us do is that we're going to target some particular hotspots. So most of the vaccines are going to go to Western region, and particular some districts that we get more of the cases. The idea is that when we are able to break the source of the infection, then that is helping us break the transmission. And then so the powerhouse is now cut off, and then to minimize the risk of infection across the country. In as such as we don't want so many cases, the cases are all mild. Most of the cases are mild, but for a few, that will go to a hospital and within a matter of days, discharged. Most of the cases are mild. So if you look at our total cases, which are around 500, I would say about 90% are mild cases. We are hoping that these our limited vaccines, when it comes, will help us break the transmission. Right. If you look at the strategy for the vaccines, you're supposed to give it to, let's say, health workers because they are at risk. And if you look at the WHO prescription, it's also saying that give it to contacts of cases. So we are able to identify a number that we are likely to get the vaccines to. And we are thinking that when we get that vaccine to them, it will cut the source.
That was the Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Well, we'll be back after this break with the latest in sports and business. Bismarck Abusa is standing by.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Abusa. Coming up tonight, Ghana's economy expands by 6.3% in second quarter of 2025, led by services sector. We'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Ghana's economy grew by a provisional 6.3% in the second quarter of 2025, a significant expansion driven primarily by the strong performance of the services sector. Data released today by the Ghana Statistical Service in Accra reveals that the services sector not only recorded an impressive 9.9% growth, but also accounted for the largest share of the nation's economic output. Dr. Asiedu-Dartey is government statistician.
In nominal terms, GDP was 321 billion Ghana cedis, up from 258.9 billion Ghana cedis a year ago. Non-oil GDP performed even better, expanding by 7.8%, valued at 313.3 billion Ghana cedis. This shows that growth is broad-based, with less reliance on oil. Looking at the sectors, agriculture grew by 5.2%, up from 3.5% in the same period last year. Industry's growth slowed to 2.3%, down from 12.2% last year. A sharp contraction of the oil and gas sector at 22.5% weighed heavily on performance, even though electricity grew by 6.7%, supporting businesses and households. The strongest momentum came from services, which expanded by 9.9% compared with only 2% a year earlier. Information and communication grew by 21.3%, while education and health also recorded double-digit growth.
And that was government statistician Dr. Asiedu-Dartey. Moving on, some international buyers of Ghana's cocoa have started advancing part of more than $4 billion to Cocoa Board for the 2025-2026 crop season. The full amount will not be released at once, but spread over a period. However, a significant portion is expected before the end of this year. There is more in the following three business news desk reports.
The move is meant to secure Cocoa Board's commitment for bean supply. This follows a new funding model introduced in 2023. Under the arrangement, global traders are required to deposit at least 60% of the value of their forward contract at the start of the season. The system replaced the 3-decade-old pre-export syndicated loan from international banks. Part of the deposits will be used to finance purchases from farmers through licensed buying companies, with Cocoa Board acting as an intermediary. Analysts argue that beyond cocoa farmers, the cedi will be one of the biggest beneficiaries of these inflows. They explain that the funds could significantly boost the Bank of Ghana's international reserves. The bank's economic and financial data released in July put Ghana's reserves at $11.1 billion. The governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Johnson Isiama, has said the inflows should signal to the market that the central bank is well positioned to intervene when needed to meet the demands of businesses and commercial banks. He added that Ghana's macroeconomic situation remains solid and should give businesses confidence in the cedi's outlook, as well as in ongoing measures to improve market liquidity. Ghana is also expected to receive additional inflows from development partners, which should further strengthen international reserves.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Before we go, the Ghana cedi continued its week run with a year-to-date gain reduced to 18.5% on Tuesday, September 9, 2025, from 20.35% recorded on Friday, September 5, 2025. This follows strong corporate demand and tight foreign exchange supply. The Bank of Ghana has been moderate on the foreign exchange market, with supply lower than in May, June and July 2025. Some analysts attribute the cedi's recent performance to the Bank of Ghana's cap on foreign currency cash withdrawals, which were not backed by equivalent foreign currency deposits. And that brings us to this business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck Ausa. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. And that brings us to the end of Hot Edition for tonight. Thanks for your company.